Hello and welcome back to Open Source Tutorials here at Shardeum. Today I want to talk about Git conflicts, what causes them, how they happen, and how to resolve them when they do happen. I want to talk about the rebasing approach. There are a couple of different approaches like merging, cherry picking, and a couple of different approaches for resolving Git conflicts. But we're going to be focusing on rebasing because that is what we use at Shardeum. It has a couple of different benefits, but all the other branches also have their benefits. As we go through the tutorial, we're going to talk about why rebasing is good. In addition to the fact that it gives you a very linear, very clean Git commit history, it allows you to get into the individual commits and rebase and resolve them, and a couple of other different things that we will see as we progress. This is a very small UI that I've put together to hopefully give you an idea about Git conflicts and how they happen. So we have an origin branch that has a couple of data in it, and this branch is the branch that the remaining team members are working on. So we have these two engineers, engineer 1 and 2, who are going to clone this branch and basically start working from them. So when they do claim, they have when they do clone the branch, they have the same copies of the branches on their local machines, right, on their own local branches. Now, let's say, for instance, that this engineer decides to add a new record. In this case, maybe they want to have a new record with a score of 20 and an ID of 2. Right, I'm going to make this blue. So if this engineer pushes their commit up to the remote again, the remote would then get access to these changes that they have pushed as a result of their commit. However, the local branch for the second engineer, for actually in this case for the first engineer, does not have the changes that the origin branch now currently has. What would happen is that if he does make his own changes, maybe he doesn't add a new record. Maybe he just edits something. This could be 1, 1. The ID could be 0, 2, 3. Whatever changes he makes, he can't push it into the origin branch anymore because the origin branch now has changes that he doesn't have. The changes that were contributed by engineer 2, he does not have that locally, and Git wouldn't know exactly how to resolve that. Do I keep the change that this person has pushed, or do I just take your own changes and overlap that? What would happen is there's going to be a conflict, and then we have to start rebasing that. To give you a practical implementation or a practical example of how this happens, I have a small React project here that we're going to work off of to try to show you like a hands-on approach on how to rebase. I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to clone it locally to my local machine. Git clone, I'll paste that URL. It's cloning into the doc.pip. So in this case, I'm the engineer 1 who is trying to contribute to that project, basically to edit the README and add some information to it. So I'm going to cd into that repository, and let's open it up in VS Code. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. This is the readme.md file, and as you can see, it currently has the same copy that we have right here on the remote branch. Now, let's say that engineer 2 beats me to it, and he pushed a commit first. And I'm going to try to do that by just pushing a commit directly onto the origin branch. And what I would do here is let's update the title, document PIP, makes more sense. And let's say that engineer 2 added a new line here that says check the browser on port 3000. Right. Commit the change, update README. Awesome. Now, at this point, engineer 2 has pushed changes into the origin branch that I do not have on my own branch locally. Right. If you look at my local branch, I still have npm start, and that is the end of it. I don't have the updated title as well. And usually you are not aware of the changes that are going on the remote branch. So let's say that I'm just doing my own thing here, and I decide to add a new line as well, and I say git clone, and I want to put the actual URL that you should clone, right? Because there's no URL there. So I'm just gonna copy this. I wonder if that's the one. Let me grab it from here. Yes, so let's do git clone. I'm going to put this here. And then I'm going to do check the browser on port 4000, which is clearly different from what engineer 2 did. And document PIP, let's say that I didn't change that. I left it as it is. I will save my changes. Then let's do git status to see that our README file has changed. It has. So let's do a git add, and I'm going to commit. Modified readme.md. Now, what would happen is when I try to push these changes to the remote branch, it wouldn't work, right? Because currently there's going to be some conflicts. Let me actually do that so that we see. If I push to origin main, see, updates were rejected because the remote contains work that you do not have locally. Correct, because I haven't pulled in the changes from the origin branch, because I didn't know there were changes in the origin branch. These things happen. So what is currently going on is we found ourselves in Git conflict land, and this is the point where you start to resolve the conflict, right? And the first thing you want to do is to fetch the remote branch to basically see what changes has happened, who has pushed what and what did they do. You can do that with git fetch, and this would fetch the changes that are in the origin branch for you. If you have the GitHub VS Code extension, you should be able to easily see these changes here. So let's come here, click on README. I'm going to bring this down. So I can see that this person added a new line, check the browser on port 3000, and I can see that they also updated the title. Now I can also see my own changes that I've made, and I can see that I added this line, and I also added the port for 4000. Great. So what do we do now? Which one do we want to take? Which one do we want to keep? That is usually up to you, the engineer, to basically look at the different commits and figure out what makes the most sense. I like the fact that they updated the README to be document PIP instead of DPIP. So I will keep the title from their own commit. I also want to keep my git clone URL where I added the actual URL for you to clone. And then we can maybe take one of the ports. It doesn't matter which at this point. Okay, so what I will do is I'm going to start an interactive rebase process. All right, and I'm going to start it on the main branch, on the origin branch. So it's picking up my own local commit because that is the one that I want. If you're making a commit and you're trying to push changes, chances are you're trying to push the changes that you've made locally. So you would pick your own commit. We're in Vim, so let me exit. And then I see that it could not apply my modified readme.md commit on top of it because there's clearly a divergence, like the branches have diverged. So what I want to do is to manually resolve those changes, right? So if you come back to the readme.md file, you should now see the changes, and it will be up to you to resolve them. You can resolve in the merge editor, but I prefer to accept both changes and then remove the things that I don't want. So since I want to keep the 4000 ports, I'm going to delete. I'm going to delete 4000 to keep the 3000 ports. I want to keep the document PIP like I mentioned, and I want to keep the URL that I've added here. So this is good to me. So I will save that, and then what I want to do now is I want to git add the README file again. And then I want to complete the rebase process. So let's do git rebase continue. Okay, so modified readme.md file has been applied. Okay, what I want to do now is exit Vim and see that I've successfully rebased and updated the refs. So I can now push to the main branch and we should not have any conflicts anymore. Look at that. So if I refresh this page, I should see that I now get my own local commit in addition to the commit that was pushed by a separate engineer. And this is all about Git conflicts, how they happen, what might cause them, and how to resolve them when they do happen. I hope this has been helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.